Just to inform you, recording is on.
No worries.
I just saw Reva Singh.
Yeah, Reva is also here. Shall we start, sir?
I'm ready.
Yeah. Good evening, guys. Welcome to yet another episode of Tiffin Talks. Today, we are going to discuss the future of jobs in the hospitality and tourism industry. Now, we all know that these sectors are one of the most severely affected, and therefore, a dedicated session on them on the same will definitely help all the stakeholders of the industry. Today, we have with us Sharad Sachdeva, airport retail expert, former CEO Lite Foods and Director of Operations Catterton Asia; Dinaz Madhukar, Chief Commercial Services Officer, Adani Airports, and former Senior VP, DLF Luxury Retail and Hospitality; Ravitej, Nath, Culinary Entrepreneur and F&B Consultant, Director, Spice Lab Tokyo and Karma Chalets, Gurugram; Magandeep Singh, India's first French-certified sommelier, author and director, Institute of Wine and Beverage Studies; Dr. Garima Prakash, Dean, Vatel Hotel and Tourism Business School, Ansal University; and Laurent, Director of the Vatel Program, Ansal University. And the session will be moderated by none other than Sourish Bhattacharyya, noted food writer and columnist, and curator of IG 2020. Over to you, Sourish. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawan, and good evening. Panelists have a very distinguished panel talking about an issue which is quite a ticklish issue right now. It's quite it's troubling a lot of people, especially young people in the industry and or younger people trying to get into hotel management schools. We're not living in the best of times. Certainly, these are hard times, and we need to therefore prepare for better times, or maybe find out alternatives within our present situations, to move forward, to find little glimmers of hope wherever we can. Without much ado, I will ask Chef Garima Prakash. I call her chef because she's famous among all of us as a chef, formerly with the Taj group. And of course, she's traveled all over the world as a chef. But she's now better known as the Dean of the Vatel Tourism and Hospitality Program at Ansal University. Good evening, Chef Garima. I will ask the first question of you. What is you are in touch with young people all the time because of being the dean of your program in the university, and you also see young people in the profession on the shop floor, as it were. What is it?
Hi, Sourish, and thank you for the introduction. Once a chef, always a chef. And yes, as I say, I think so with the younger generation, it still hasn't sunk into them. The final pass outs of the students, they are still taking it into their wake. But yes, the industry people are quite scared because they have been all asked practically to stay back home. But I think so being a hotelier and knowing that our industry is so resilient, we have that wishful thinking, and we are taking it into our strides, and we know that, it will come back. And so I think so seeing at this point of time when they are not going to work every day is something which is troubling them, but not that the career is finished or that it will not come back. So I think so they know the industry will come back, and travel is in the DNA of people. People will not stop eating food. So I think so being into such a skilled line and something which is so paramount important to a human being existence, I think so somewhere all of us, if we look at the panelists who are here, does anybody of us believe that we will not go out and eat out again? Do we actually believe that we will not travel? I think so, so when we as customers also think that, so I think so the industry people also have this hope that the industry will bounce back. But yes, definitely, as you said, at this point of time, with not going or working that 16, 18 hours every day and getting their full salaries or whatever, is something which they are kind of trying to get in terms with.
That brings me to the question which I think I'll address Ravitej Nath, because he's been seeing, both sides. He's been recently in Tokyo, and he's set up a modern Indian restaurant there, and now he's come here. And of course, he came in and he got caught in the lockdown. So now and you've seen, of course, now Tokyo has come out of lockdown and the restaurants are all running normally. But now, given the situation that you're seeing around the world, I mean, young people really have to worry that much about the situation today? Do you think, I mean, as Chef Garima said, that there are reasons for hope? And if there, what are those reasons for hope?
Thank you, Sourish, for having me here. And of course, it's a very touchy topic and very emotional as well to many people. But I think it's very important for us to be very clear and frank with it. As Chef Garima said, there will be a recovery. There's no two ways about that. May not be a U shape or a V shape, but maybe bathtub shape recovery for hospitality. But the situation abroad in Tokyo and things, Tokyo is now open. It's open in the sense people are moving out and coming to restaurants. We are doing around 40 covers a day. It's a 55 cover restaurant. So I think we're pretty okay there, lunch and dinner together. It's not great, but we are okay. I think we'll be moving well. But it's very different in India. I think we all are in the same storm, but we are all in different boats. Depends on which industry you are, which country you are, which geography you are, which kind of operation you're working for, which kind of hotel you're working for, or restaurant, or different types of things. So it's different for different people. It'll be very difficult to just say, that one size fits all sort of thing is going to work. But I think what is the most important thing is that there are two phases to it. One is during this lockdown phase, where there is lockdown or unlock or whatever you call it. It's limited mobility, limited trust to move out, limited safety as well for some people. And the second part is after we come out of this. So I think there are two parts to this. In the immediate term, it's definitely a massacre as far as hospitality is concerned right now, because everyone is shut. It cannot get worse than this.
Are there a lot of job losses taking place in this period?
There are definitely some job losses. We hear of some closures which are happening. But I think, we should not get swayed by all these articles and analysis which come out, which speak about 75% of restaurants shutting down and 60% of hotels shutting down and all. You're in a lockdown. How can you even measure unemployment? You have to measure unemployment, you have to first open it. So I think these are all just hearsay things. Of course, it's going to be bad. But having said that, let's not get carried away or swayed by all these things. One thing's open, we'll know exactly what is the situation. And then, we'll have to take it from there. It's definitely positive in the sense I see that, yes, there are lesser jobs available, but I think there are a lot of positives in this. People who are well-skilled, people who've been students all their lives, they will actually get an opportunity to do things of what their seniors were doing. Because every employer is looking, how can a supervisor take on an assistant manager role? How can an assistant manager take on a senior manager role? Somewhere down the line, this is an opportunity for many people who have their job.
To upskill themselves.
To upskill themselves and to deliver.
Yeah. Which brings me to Magandeep. Magandeep, you have recently launched a full-blown program for aspiring sommeliers, people who aspire to be like you one day. So, you're launched specifically for students in the IHMs, in the hospitality institutes, and you've priced it very, very reasonably. So now, I mean, do you think young people should enroll for such courses to multi-skill themselves, to upgrade their existing skill sets? How do you see it?
So, hi, Sourish. First of all, thanks for having me. And also the fact that I think people should aspire for a lot more than where I am. That's not enough. But the thing is, so why we did that was not to be opportunistic, because there's, you have to sense the thing. So we were anyways doing this. This was going to come out for about 4,500, 5,000, maybe within a slightly different format, but still online. But now, given the circumstances, we absorbed the cost of setting it up and did it in one go. And now the idea is, why should people do this? Because what's happened is people have returned right now to their homes. People working in Goa are now back in Bengal and vice versa. And there seems to be a sentiment that not necessarily all of them will be in a rush to go back to their place of work. They might be a little more cautious, trying to look for work locally. So what happens is, having a skill set locally available will become more valued than trying to source it from elsewhere. So you have your MT programs and your advanced sort of, career programs with the bigger institutions. But in general, you'll find that most areas or big cities will come to rely on the local populace as much as they can for filling up vacancies that may arise, or for new positions that come out as a result of the pandemic. For example, more cloud kitchens, less in-house dining, stuff like that. So having a skill set will never go waste. So the idea was, and also, the brain's a muscle, should keep churning it, keep functioning, and also to divert or digress from the pandemic chat every day. There's enough news out there about how bad it is. I've stopped watching the news at times because there's only that much of it I can take in various formats to say the same thing. Mm-hmm. And as Ravitej already said, that if you're in lockdown, everything we say is just assumptions. There's no reality to what people are putting as figures out there. They're just scary figures. So we put this out there. We've spoken, in fact, Laurent, people like you are helping us sort of spread the word. The idea is to say that, unfortunately, the tasting can't happen yet, but we will figure a way to that as well. Maybe we'll find a way to get the wine around, do something, but let's not stop the whole process, because when things come back, we don't want to be at a gap of 4 months with no skills or knowledge acquired. I, for myself, am trying to do something at home to be, constructively positive at the end of it all. I think all of us are doing it be it for the mental sanity of it or however else we justify it. But, and the reason we didn't aim it at the hoteliers was because hotels people seemed more unsure at the moment, because they've sort of lost jobs they've already had. They're in senior positions. They don't know where they stand. And hotels, when I say hotel, I mean hotels and restaurants. The students, they were, the second year person still has a year or two to
There's a buffer.
There's a buffer. So they're still feeling somewhat safe. So the fear is at the transition points, people who have finished third year and joining, or people who finish or who are joining the first year immediately. Those are people who are sort of having an issue. But so we've got this out there for wines, for beers and spirits are following up, and they'll be even cheaper. I mean, the idea is in 4,000 rupees, you should know everything you need to know in an Indian context, what's applicable here. And the reason we also did this is because we saw courses from abroad were coming here for 20,000 rupees for a day. And I said, that makes no sense. Who's going to spend that kind of money to acquire a skill set that's not even applicable in the moment? So we are also looking at also.
So I actually, what we need, in fact, so my next question is to Laurent. I think what Magan is saying presents an opportunities to universities like Ansal. You have an opportunity to put your knowledge and your, the faculty on the net and do online courses. I mean, Cornell does it, and now it's become quite established. Do you see possibilities of you doing more online courses and getting more and more people to register for online courses? Laurent?
You see, the interesting thing, and I was surprised myself, is that the day the student was sent home on 6th of March, and then the teacher followed on 20th, 19th, I believe. Day after, we were online 100% already. So all the courses happen online, all the curriculum was delivered online, and the exams were done online, and the results have been published. So that online thing happened. The only problem
but this is for your own students.
This is for our own students, but we also, with Vatel International, we have put into place during the pandemic, and it's still there, for all the professionals that work around the school, which are all the hotels and the standalone restaurant, a free access to our database where they could find some classes in English, in French, and in Spanish, which they could have access for free. So not only our students, but whoever wanted to access these database of Vatel International were able to do that. That was put into place by Mr. Sebon, who is the president of the group, in order to provide more training to people who were at home and not in their restaurant or not in their hotel, because obviously they had been sent back home. So that's one of the thing we did for the trade, for the industry.
So now actually the with to Sharad Sachdeva, because he has seen the industry from inside, and now he has the luxury of seeing it from outside as an analyst, as an investor. In fact, Catterton, I think, is the biggest investor in the in Impresario. The group that we know from its most prominent face, Riaz Amlani, and brands such as Social. Now, what do you think is when you're looking at it as an analyst, what do you think is going to be the real hit that the restaurant and hotel industry are going to take? Are the numbers going to be as scary as the ones which have been touted around, or what is your take on things?
You see, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me on the panel. And as far as your question goes, when there are such times, I would use an analogy to explain this, that there is a situation which is outside and it's not really good, and we all know how bad it is or how long will it take. But there is a sentiment around it, and that sentiment is definitely far more powerful than what exactly the situation is. So like our Sensex works on sentiment. So today there is a news which says there is a lockdown which might happen for another 10 days. The stock market will tank and go down by 1,000 points. The business hasn't gone down, but the sentiment has gone down. Or if there is a statement which comes out from Prime Minister's office and says that something is going to happen in the banking sector and there will be some respite to the industry, and the Sensex just goes up by 1,000 points. Business hasn't happened, but the sentiment is positive. So I think problem is there, but sentiment is more powerful, which is governing the minds of the consumers. The fear psychosis in the minds of the people has actually been far too much than the problem is. I'm not saying at all that there is no problem. There is problem, and we know it. It's a severe problem. We haven't faced such a problem at least in my lifetime. So there is a problem, but the sentiment around it is far more multiplying effect it is showing on us. So it is taking a toll on all the, on all the industries. So people have gone cautious. They're not investing. They're not looking at, going further, doing business. And so they're on a standstill. Everything is, has stopped. So as an analyst, if I may see so, the situation is definitely not good. And, but it won't last forever. We handle Chinese market, and we see how Chinese market is coming back, how they're controlling. I was talking to somebody in Stockholm 3 days ago. He says you go to the mall, the malls are even fuller than before. So, which is a positive sign. And there are cases in Stockholm, there are cases in Sweden. So Europe is coming back slowly. They know that things are not good, but they're still opening. A few days ago, Eiffel Tower was also open to public. So what I'm trying to say, there was a situation, there was a problem. We all recognize it. There was a sentiment, which was probably 5 times multiplier effect on the problem, on the negative side. That doesn't change the magnitude of the problem. Things will come back. Things have to come back. This is not going to last forever. It may last for a year. I don't know. I'm not a medical expert, and don't hold me for it saying that. But if at all it's going to last for a year, we will learn to live with it. Like today, we are not closing down. There are cases far more than it used to happen a month ago or 2 months ago. But the point is, we are living with it. We are not closing our business. We are still opening further businesses. We are further going ahead. So sentiment is far negative than actual the situation is. And we should not get our minds carried away, as Ramandeep was also saying, that the same news, if I hear 5 times in different channels, I can absorb as much as I can, but the negativity can be 5 times, but the news is the same. So the problem is that we have to tune our minds and understand that there is a problem, but should be given the due amount of importance to that problem, not 5 times what it deserves.
Right.
So just tune your minds and be cognizant of the magnitude of the problem, things are going to come back for sure.
As you know, in fact, as someone was saying that what we are suffering now is an infodemic. There's too much information about COVID-19. And this is not good for our health, I think. Having said that, but we cannot still ignore the ground reality of the situation, and we are not living in the best of times. Having taken that into account, I was wondering, where is Pawan? Do you know where if Dinaz?
So I had a chat with Dinaz a couple of minutes back, Sourish. She tried twice or thrice. There's some problem with her system.
Okay.
And it was not allowing to come her online in terms of video or the audio feed. So I think we are one panelist short today. She'll again try, but yeah, she won't be able to join, I guess.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Then I'll reserve my questions on the airport retail sector for Sharad, who has seen it from its infancy. But now coming to the alternatives, what are the job prospects which have opened up in the last 2-3 years, which are related to the hospitality sector, yet are not traditionally in the hospitality sector? Ravitej, do you want to start with what are the options available? Say a person who's now in the class of 2020. Now you don't want him to go and become a banker or something. You'd like him or her to be in the hospitality sector. How do you manage that? How do you do that?
So I think class of 2020 is probably graduating, unfortunately, in the toughest of times and decades. And they also will be well aware of that. But however, I think they should also look at this like how most others are looking at it, wherein we don't know the length of the length of this problem. We don't know whether we are in the beginning, the middle, or the end of the pandemic, right? So we don't know how long it's going to last. So the important thing in such situations is to hang in there. Keep increasing your skills. A lot of online options already the panelists have shared. There are many more as well. And just hang in there, because the industry, as Sharad said, will come back. It may not come back in exactly the same way that it was earlier. It may come back completely different. It come back slightly different. And I think with every, like you say, with every crisis comes opportunity. I think also there's also revolutions which happen. And I think we are on the cusp of a revolution which is going to happen in the entire industry. The way it's going to work, the way it's, the models, the business models, everything is going to get revolutionized, not just marginally tinkered with. And after every revolution we've seen, whether it was Quit India, whether it was the Green Revolution, the existing, the previous thing is just redundant. It's a completely new game which starts. And we need to be ready for that. We've already seen DLF put out something that they're moving to a model where, there's going to be shared revenue, and it's just the beginning. It's the start. But if they are also cognizant, and so are many other owners as well. And I think it's going to be a completely different thing. So this is the time for coming to the class of 2020. What you've been learning till now, those 3 years, maybe only part of it will actually be useful in the time ahead. So use this time to upskill, to upgrade, get online.
Ravi, that brings me to one question. Yeah. I think I'll address it to, I cannot, okay, Magan, you're briefly off screen. Okay, I'll ask it to Sharad. Sharad Satsena. Okay, sorry. No, actually, Sharad may be the right person to ask. Sure. This is a question which has come up on a chat room. The question is that, do you think that the retail sector will recover faster than the hospitality sector? So, would it be a good short-term, advice to give to the class of 2020 that they should look seriously at the retail sector and snap up jobs that come up there?
I think food business definitely is far more hygienic prone or affected, and this entire COVID situation is more to do with hygiene and stuff and contactless stuff. If you're going to eat somewhere, you will well imagine that there has to be some contact, certain amount of contact, as compared to if you're going to buy a shirt or if you're going to buy an apparel for that matter. So I think retail will be far easier to roll back. And I would want to share these data points, quote unquote. Don't hold me for this. It's just a hearsay thing that I hear from my Chinese counterpart, that retail per se has come back by about 70% in most prominent cities and malls of Shanghai, Beijing, and bigger cities of China. And it is going to be some time, maybe a couple of more months, when the F&B comes to that level of operations because of the social distancing norms that they have established in their public places. So basically, it is not going to be a bad idea, to answer you, to go into retail or a specialty retail for that matter for the time being, and then come back to your mainstay. So to answer you, food will definitely, or hospitality will take a slightly longer time as compared to specialty retail.
Right. I think that's a very clear answer. Dinaz, it's so good to see you. You're back despite the, you're on screen despite the problems you've had.
Absolutely. I managed to get back on and I'm so happy about that.
Okay. And congratulations on your new job. I'm sure people at DLF will miss you, but I'm sure you must be looking forward to a lot of things happening.
Oh, absolutely. It's exciting.
So, a bit about, about your new job, Adani Airports. What is it about,
You know that Adani won the bid for 6 airports, and we've got the 3 of them coming over to us sometime towards end October and November, and there'll be other 3 coming in after that. So we're going to develop them also from the perspective of adding to the entire portfolio that we already have. So from the initial what we have at the airports, we're also looking at developing airport villages outside of that and the landside area. So it's pretty exciting because that part of it is a greenfield. The rest of the airports are brownfield, but this is greenfield. So it's exciting from that perspective.
And so, coming straight to the point that a lot of people have in mind is airports are opening up as a viable job opportunity for people from hospitality institutes. Or do you think it's too early to say so?
No, definitely. They are opening up. In fact, I remember when I was with the Taj Krishna in Hyderabad at that point itself, when GMR was moving into airports and GVK was moving into airports, they took a lot of people from the hospitality background. Initially, of course, was for the food courts and for the lounges. But as you're aware, even retail's been taking a lot of people. So the scope has always been there. In fact, when I started my career years ago, I still remember when we were in Bangalore and some of our colleagues had been picked up by companies like Dell, and you're saying hardcore computers, IT coming up at that time, and suddenly you're finding hospitality guys moving into those arenas. So the scope is phenomenal because we come with a skill set, which is, we're well trained into how to create guests out of customers. So once you work on that, I think that's the biggest skill set that we bring to the table. More than anything else, of course, there are the specialized skills like kitchen and front office and all of those. But the basic that's been driven into us is that high level of, as the very word itself says, hospitality. So when you have that culture, it can be run across organizations. Banking forever and more has always picked up hoteliers because those skill sets are there. So yes, there will be certain avenues which are slower to pick up. I caught a little bit of what was being discussed in terms of the restaurants are going to take a little longer, but basic, we can go across any industry.
Right. So, the message of hope here is that a hospitality student is equipped for roles outside the hospitality sector. And one should just use this opportunity either to upskill or to, look at opportunities opening up in other sectors, and retail, of course, is the big sector which seems to be coming back into operation soon, So,
absolutely.
Now, Chef Garima, you've seen the new demands created by what we're calling the new normal, So, do you think there is a need to change the hotel management courses do you think say the Vatel program will need to change to take into account the demands of the new normal?
Yes, actually, the curriculum mapping will happen, but not immediately, because we have to first understand what the industry is doing here. So obviously, whatever the industry is going to make, how the industry is going to make normal as a new normal, that has to be inculcated in the students, definitely. And not only the students, the faculty members also need to go back to the industry in terms of short-term courses, to understand what is happening, to learn that, so that they can further on teach it to the students. So I think the industry and the academic connect for the next 1 year has to be very, very strong. Otherwise, we'll miss the boat, So the changes are really, really happening at a phenomenal pace, because now each opening is, the reopening is looking at every hotel, the reopening is actually becoming as a fresh opening. So whatever were the flaws of in any operations of any hotels is something the owners are looking at, with a very strong point of view and correcting that. And obviously the new normals have changed, the technology will advance. So all those things, before it comes to the students, the faculty of the hotel management colleges need to gear themselves up, have a better connect. And we would obviously request, and I think the industry will come forward to educate us on that and to bring the academic and industry together. And thereafter, the curriculum has to be definitely mapped. There's no doubt about it.
No, for instance, will there now be a greater demand for professionals who are equipped to understand the sanitary needs of a hotel or restaurant operation? Because,
yes, I believe so.
I don't remember in the past. Like for every hotel has a microbiology lab, but it is like consigned to one sad corner of the premises, and then the microbiologist is generally the chefs resent that person. Everyone hates that person because she always picks up some fault or the other in every operation, So now, how do you think all this will change? I mean, it has to change.
It will change, and I think so people are open, the minds have opened, because this is the need of the hour, and not only for the safety of the client, before that the safety of your own self, it is needed. And I think so our, the hygiene and they will be more now called as just not hygiene personnel, they would be kind of be functioning as marshals all over the hotel. So safety and I think so health and safety will come of paramount importance, as it is in international standards. Health audits will be taken more seriously by the hotels, and because internationally these things are definitely in place, but as you very rightly said, in India, although we were but there was no we were not bounded by law to do it. And now I think so the law will come very functional to impart and impose these things. All 5 stars anyway were very hygienic and sanitizing, but obviously they were not following that every 5 seconds, every 5 minutes you need to sanitize the table. So I think so the legal aspect would also come. And as the rest of the things became a habit to us when we were functioning in hotels, with the newer generation also, all this thing, the way they will be trained, I think so it will become like a habit to them to do it. And the very soon the new normal will be the normal of the day.
Right. Of course, a lot of people are saying now, can't we go back to the old normal, sort of, instead of, but anyway, that, Magan, a very interesting question has come up, and that is about, what are the skills in wine and spirits that are needed? The person who's asked this question wants very specific answers, Can you please elaborate on this?
You want me to look at the chat window for the specifics, or sort of?
No, I'll just read it out.
Well,
what are the skills apart from wine and spirits should be gained? Like, please mention some specific. Oh, okay. So this is beyond wine and spirits. What are the skills that? Okay.
Well, at least from the service point of view, I think when in Dine, we've been working with sommeliers outside to understand how can you serve wine while socially distancing. So the idea of having wrappers on cling wraps, a special kind of ways to remove the cork so you don't come in contact. So zero contact is basically what you're trying to figure out. But again, when I'm pouring wine into a glass, I'm going to be as far away as the length of my arm. And that's pretty much is what it is. So the other thing that I've written about was that why shouldn't the government now think of considering BYO as a concept in restaurants and saying, get your own alcohol, and we'll just put a corkage on it, and excise can take a pound of they can take their pound of flesh on that corkage fee. But I'll just feel more comfortable carrying my own stuff in. Now, fine, if I get a pint of beer or a cocktail, that I have to rely on the restaurant for. So those skills, the mixology skill, I think will be valid for sure. Don't lose that out.
Coming to BYO orders, just imagine people walking into a restaurant with their own champagne bottles and then trying to open it,
Sorry,
I think there'll be few accidents happening.
People on this group have had the privilege of doing it with certain restaurants. I will not name anything beyond that. But the fact remains that I think BYO should become a legal norm amongst other things. But as for skill sets required, I think that's, again, as it was said earlier, as things get established as an SOP, we'll know what comes in. But it's
for instance, say, let me ask you a specific question. Say you're studying to be a chef, right? What are the additional skill sets that you need to, acquire from the digital environment around you? Not so many webinars and so many courses and so many options are there right now. What are the options would you recommend?
Who are you asking this one, to the chef thing?
You. Me? You. Yeah.
If I had to
you're running a digital course.
Yeah, I think my team is right now busy learning about how to market online and reach out and connecting, and we're realizing the language you speak has to change a lot, because what works in
so marketing is one big.
It's huge, and also the communication changes, because now I'm talking to a screen, I'm not talking to people, I'm not gauging reactions. So at least from that point of view, I can tell you a lot has changed, how sessions are conducted for us. The language changes, the methodology changes. Earlier, we always believed just a simple one, PowerPoints, you'd have 25 words on it because you were the connect to deliver the rest. It's changed. Now when I do a Zoom presentation, my PowerPoint has 100 words on it because that is the primary visual aid that I'm using and I am the background. So that's just from, again, but that's not a skill set for someone who needs to acquire it. I think for them, it'll take a while when they get back to see what skill sets they really need, but don't give up the ones that already work. So if you know basics, knowledge of drinks and bar keeping and everything works, inventory, know that for sure, because you don't have to relearn that when you get there, and new things are, and if you're told to wear a PPE suit, that's a new skill to acquire, but you know how to handle a bar still.
Right, exactly. And one skill we have all learned from you right away, that always have a black background when you're on a Zoom conference.
If I may just add to
that. Please, absolutely. Yeah.
Since it's specific on chefs, but for all the young chefs there, I think, and not only chefs, I think for others as well, I've always believed that, curiosity is more important than intelligence, because everything is available on Google. Google has all the answers. You need to understand now, learning to learn is important. How do you learn from Google? How do you learn from the internet? That is a skill which has to be developed nowadays in our students and in the youngsters. If you're curious, you will find ways to improve your knowledge. You will find ways to adapt. You will find opportunities. You will know how to maximize those opportunities. But that curiosity, and not just following a syllabus. The syllabus is over now. The syllabus is the world. Everything has been flattened. Everything is open. Everything is available for everybody. It's very difficult to say you need to learn this in first year and this in second year. Not anymore. They have access to anything. Earlier, we needed books. We had to buy the books, or we had to go to a library and read the books. Not anymore. You don't need to buy it, right? You can just subscribe and you can get all the books for $1 a month. That's pretty cool. So first is, curiosity. So students who are passing out now, who are even in their final year, it's not, don't get worried about what job you're going to get today or tomorrow. You're up, when you upskill yourself right now. And by that, I mean, change your thinking. Like what Magan said, he's focusing on marketing and this. And we are, some of us at this age are focusing on how to be digitally connected, right? It's such a new thing for us. But now that's going to be a soft skill that everybody needs. You need to know how to handle digital media. That's a given. It's like a basic soft skill now for any job.
It's very important you're saying this, because I'm associated with a very important, trade fair organization. And what problems we're seeing is that, the exporters community, now one would imagine the exporters community to be digitally quite savvy, but they're having the maximum problems, coping with an online trade show digitally. It's interesting that the visitors have no problems, accessing an online trade show, but the people who are exhibitors are having problems dealing with it. This only, I think, reiterates the need for a digital savvy.
Yeah, it's a basic requirement, I think, for any job. Whether you're the doorman or the chairman, you've got to be digitally savvy. It's required.
Right. So, Laurent, that brings me to, as an educator, you've of course been a very successful manager. You've run Michelin-star restaurants, but how do you see the academic courses changing in this new world, the new normal world?
I think we just said it, that the chef just spoke. It's you need to experience. You need to right now upskill means what? When you are in your kitchen, that's what I've done for 3 months. I've started cooking. I have starting doing things, experiencing with food. I made I don't know some things with white sauce instead of red sauce to see if it was nice and coming out. So the students should be doing that. And of course the curriculum will change. We have not changed the curriculum in hospitality since decades. So we need to change things because the world has changed, the industry has changed, and now it's going to change again. So obviously it's something that is going to need to be done. I always, we are lucky in Vatel because we have a pretty, a curriculum that changes quite often. Because we have 50 schools, so we get a lot of input from everybody, and 35,000 alumni. So we get a lot of input from all over the world. But I know that if you go only by the book and the curriculum that is today existing, a lot of stuff is irrelevant. And at my time when I also went to, School of Hospitality, we were taught how to cut the duck in front of the guests in the middle of the dining room on a trolley, or how to make crepe Suzette, and now you'll have to find a restaurant in the world that makes crepe Suzette and cut duck in front of people. I mean, it's obsolete, totally. Right. So this is this thing that has to be, adapted to the new market. I think we have to push our students also to look into entrepreneurship, push them to understand how to run a healthy business. A lot of people have closed their restaurant during this pandemic because at the end of the day, nobody had any cash flow. Everybody is struggling because it's not easy to run a restaurant. It's a task. It's difficult. You need to have a lot of skills in terms of how to count, how to buy, how to make sure that you finish your last portion and you don't throw it away in the bin. Otherwise, your profit is gone for a toss. So I think all these things we should emphasize on a lot. Teach people how to run a business that is viable and not a business where you're confused between what comes into the register and what's going to be yours at the end. We are heavily taxed. We are paying heavy rents. In India, it's more the rent that is a problem. In France, for instance, it could be the taxation, which is a problem. I've run restaurant in France for decades, and believe me, I've never made any money because we are taxed so much that it's very difficult. And if I had not been a good accountant in a way, if I didn't have that skill, I would have lost my business. So I think we have to push the students to understand that they have to be careful when they enter the business. They have to make sure that, they have a clean sheet and they know where they're going and what they're doing. People have a tendency to just open a restaurant. It's fun, let's put 2-3 crore into this thing, make a menu. We have no chef, we have no thing, but it doesn't matter, let's go. It's not possible. I think the business also has to become a little more professionalized. So, we gain in efficiency, and rather than seeing restaurant opening like, popping up like mushrooms and closing 6 months after, we have, companies and business that are doing better for a longer amount of time, business that are perenne. which we don't see much these days. Even in Europe, it's very difficult, tough to survive. I wanted to bounce on one thing is that I believe also that, you know, in India, in the world today, the part of hotel business is about $600 billion. The part of airline is about 700 billion. And the part of food and beverage is 1.3 trillion. It's 3 times the amount of hotels and airlines put together. In India, the amount of hotel does about 20 billion. Airlines, I think, is 22 billion. Airline is around 26. And food and beverage is at 7.3 billion. So you can see it's only a third of hotels when I think there is a huge gap there that can be filled. And we see how the life of the restaurant business has been very, happening in India, very, people are very happy to get into this business, and some people are doing it very, very well. And I think it's a great thing to watch. And I think that's what we have to push. We have to push the F&B, and we have to also forget a bit about the hotel. We have been talking about hotels. We have to tell our students there are careers available in standalone restaurants. You will make as much money, if not more, and you'll be able to progress much faster than if you go into a hotel chain. Let's go out of the 5-star. I know a lot of people are not going to like that, but I think we need to push the standalone, push our students to experience the standalone. They will have much more room to play also. You know, if you go to some restaurant in the city today, I don't want to, to say any names, but there are some kitchen where you're going to learn a lot more, and you'll be making much better food than in certain 5-star properties. I really believe that. And there is an opportunity to do that also. And I think that's also a future that will come but that will come back sooner. You see, restaurants are open, hotels are not. I mean, it's a fact. So I think we have to focus on this standalone. I think we have to get together much stronger than we were in the past. It's always a problem. It's in Europe also, we have some lobbying, but not to that extent. And we represent such a huge amount of this money. We generate a lot of revenue. So this is something that we should be looking into. And I think standalone is something that our students should go to.
Right.
And really,
I think that's one area where hotel schools still, they're too focused on, hotels, In fact, Dinaz, you had a point.
Yeah, I wanted to share something, Sourish. At the Lodi Hotel, what we started with the leading hotels of the world was we were getting a certification done for the hotel, which is the GBAC, the Global Biorisk Advisory Council. So our students will have to bring in some additional skills besides their kitchen skills and besides their F&B skills, wherein they are going to already know what are the laws applicable, what are some of the courses that the institutes can do for them, so that when they also go out, they have that edge over every other student because they have done something which fits in with the time being. Second point I wanted to make is, first thing we ever learned in school was man is a social animal.
Right.
We are currently bound because there is no vaccine. The moment the vaccine is there, and its vaccine is in various stages, right now as we speak. So once it is there, it's going to be back to normal. So there is a fear for the here and now, but it's across industries. It's got nothing to do with just the F&B. Sure, F&B is impacted. Sure, retail is hugely impacted. Hotels are impacted. But every industry is impacted. It's not just one. Airlines are hugely impacted. So we need to just right now concentrate on what is the additional skill, and that skill needs to come in the space of hygiene and safety, as we spoke about. So that should be there. And the other thing that hospitality institutes and hotel management institutes can do is, like when you're doing your MBA, you have an option of branching out into, finance or into marketing we only focused on the hotel skills, but you can have additional skills which help. The third thing, and this is something which I learned when Food Hall was doing it, they have the little booklet which says you can call the chef home and the chef cooks for you. Hotels are also going to be doing that. Right now they're doing delivery, but it's not going to be far when you're going to say, hey, the chef's going to come to your house and do it, where you can control the setting. So
Right.
that's another avenue that opens up for you. And fourth, and the important one is, of course, it's already started in a huge way, the
Right.
cloud kitchen. Because people are fed up of home food. I mean,
Right.
when you were working initially and you said, "Arey, ghar ka khana khana hai." Trust me, I'm so saturated with home food that I'm just waiting, when can I go out and eat? So that is going to happen. And cloud kitchens also become a good avenue. So we need to expand our thinking. And as rightly said, it's
If it
not limited
gets,
to just hotels. It has to be standalones, because during our time, there were no standalones worth their salt. There used to be one or two, I mean, you could talk about, but other than that, there used to be the smaller ones, the
right.
dhabas or those kind of places. There were very few restaurants. Now there are innovative concepts all over the place, whether you look at Mumbai, whether you look at Delhi, Bangalore, every individual city, Chandigarh, wherever you look, there's so many beautiful, innovative concepts in food and beverage. So I think that expands the portfolio for everyone.
Right. With Dinaz, I just thought I'll ask Sharad the question. When you're looking at standalone restaurants and you're looking at the job opportunities, but we are also told that even standalone restaurants are going to suffer more than hotels. I mean, what is your reading of the market? What is happening in the market?
Unfortunately, yes, standalone hotels are restaurants or food courts are equally at heat as a five-star hotel is or deluxe star hotels are. So, but a lot of restaurants are innovating. They have very quickly adopted the delivery part and now the cloud kitchen thing. And I keep
That
hearing
was my second question is, are standalone restaurants increasingly going to move to the cloud kitchen model? I mean, even hotels are doing it.
no.
Yeah,
Yes,
Taj.
hotels are definitely
And
trying
as
to
Dinaz said,
leverage.
Taj has just launched it. Taj has just
Yes,
announced
yes,
its own
Exactly.
home.
yes. Yesterday I was talking and there was this chef from a five-star hotel said that we are doing 8 cuisines from my kitchen in a five-star hotel in Greater Noida. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, they have a property and they have to leverage it. There has been an investment gone into it. It is a smart thing to see how the pulse is and adapt and accordingly adopt and serve. Similarly, restaurants are also going to do, but unfortunately, that's not a mainstay of a restaurant. You see, restaurant, the property is lying in a prime place or a prime market or a mall, is basically there because of the way footfalls are. It is not meant to be doing a cloud kitchen or a dark kitchen or a ghost kitchen or whatever kitchen. So it is not a long term workable solution for a restaurant to convert their kitchen to cloud kitchens, while they have to still compete with actual cloud kitchens which are situated in not so prime areas with lesser rentals and lesser maintenance and so on and so forth. So thing with the dine-in restaurants converting into cloud kitchen is not a very good idea. If at all, it is a small breather in between, but it's not a workable model. These restaurants will come back and eventually stick to their core of serving customers and giving them experience, because you don't go to a dine-in restaurant just to eat. It's an experience. It's a memory. You're sharing a event. You're sharing something more closer to your heart. So it is more of an experience, as some of the restaurateurs would say that we offer you a 60-minute vacation. Like you go out to different hill stations or different places for vacation, and you enjoy a week's vacation. This is a 60-minute vacation because you come here, you unwind, you take things in a lighter way, and you kind of gel with your friends and families. Jobs will come back. It is I know everybody. I can see a lot of chat coming and I'm reading these questions in piecemeal. Jobs are going to come back, and as a very intelligent guy told me from one of our funds, is that this is the year of opportunity. And when there is a lull, there has to be a upswing as well. As Ravitej said that it's going to be a bathtub curve. uh, Maybe, but I wish it isn't like that. But so maybe a U-shaped curve or a beef-shaped curve. So things are going to come back, and job market is going to come back. because we are still 1.3 billion people.
Right.
And the world is still 7.2 billion people.
Right.
And the consumption will still be for 7.2/1.3 billion people. So we don't have to worry. It's just a matter of time.
Temporary phase.
I
Sure.
think that's a very nice note to sound, which I like Ravi. Maybe another question which has come up is that when hotels and restaurants start hiring, or when they reopen, there will be a lot of pressure on them to maybe what will there be pressure on them to rationalize their younger and therefore the less experienced staff, or to get rid of the more seasoned hands. So which way is the job market going to move? So there will be rationalization of staff, and we can't escape that possibility.
Yeah, I think, Sourish, it's going to, what I feel is going to happen is, it's not just in the staff or the manpower cost, which we are talking about. Like I said, rents also, there will be some new models which will come up, and
Right.
in all cases they'll come up. And so they will also come up in the manpower cost. Right now,
Right.
the only way we look at manpower cost is to, reduce the number of people, or employ
Right.
less expensive people and replace the more highly paid people. These are
Right.
the basic things that we operate on. But there's this
Right.
abroad, I mean, you'll be aware also, abroad there is this whole sort of part-time or temporary thing which works. So when you're busy on weekends, let's say, you employ more people. And when you're not on weekdays, you don't get that. You have a
Don't
basic
have.
structure of people in place, but you keep
Right.
adding. You do it for banquets here, but that's more
Right.
untrained or semi-trained people who join us.
Mm.
What I'm
Right.
saying, there will be good, highly skilled people available for a day. You can get a very good, let's say even chef. You get a very good chef who's worked, maybe his hotel cannot afford to
Right.
keep him on board 365 days a year, but they
Right.
need for a few events. So he'll work maybe 5 days whenever they need it. Let's say 5 days or 6 days in a month. He's free for 24 days. Now, there could be an event at a house, there could be a catering somewhere, there could be teaching in a college, could be anything.
Right.
You have many opportunities. But the mindset needs to change of the of all of us who are working, because we always see earlier it used to be we need to join a government job, uske baad pension milega.
Right.
And we said, okay, private अच्छा है, पैसे अभी मिल जाएंगे, we'll make our money, we don't need pension. But now it is, can you work saying that I am a freelancer, or I am available, you can book my skills and my time for particular times.
Right.
It's another
Right.
industry, but not so much in ours. The moment that opens up, I think the manpower cost game for restaurants just changes dramatically. Everyone. I see that happening.
Yeah. I think what you're saying is that the rules of the game are going to change quite dramatically, and one of the ways it will happen is that the whole concept of either being temps or permanent will go. So there'll be a middle road which will open up. You could be a temp for for like 2 weeks of the month, and a permanent employee in 2 weeks of the month. That could also happen.
It happens all over, Sourish.
Right.
It happens abroad, in Japan,
It
everywhere.
doesn't happen in India. It
doesn't happen because of the status thing attached to it, that I don't have a permanent job. But I would request especially the youngsters now to start thinking differently. You work for 4 days. Let's say you have 20 days to work in a month. 10 days you can keep, and I've done it for 5 years now. After leaving the job, it's very enjoyable. 20 days you have to work, 10 days you can enjoy yourself, or even 15 days. And in those 20, you choose where you want to be, because you possess a skill set which people need. They can't afford you full time, so they give you for a few days. And you also upgrade yourself. You work with people, you learn in new industries, and it can be done at any level, Sourish. And I think that's the way forward, as long as you don't get stuck with that status tag.
So, entrepreneurship is very important. Going freelance, being entrepreneurial for you is a great way to launch yourself in this new world.
Yeah. So, entrepreneur is different from self-employed again. Like you need to have the training, as Laurent very well said, that the training is very important, the learning is important, it should be in the curriculum. Otherwise, everyone learns the hard way by shutting down restaurants.
Right. I think this is a very, very good sort of a sobering thought, I would say. That maybe I will ask you all, I'll give you all a minute or two and then we'll ask Chef Garima to end the proceedings, and Pawan will come in at then. But the minute and two that we'll give all of you will be to talk about one big profession or one big vertical which is sort of simmering under, and which will, which hospitality students today should be prepared for so that they can get into that business. Sharad, you want to start?
You want me to propose a profession which could be, kind
a
of
vertical, a profession or a vertical or whatever.
I think I would say that, if I have to stick to F&B and hospitality, I think one vertical over my last 9 years being associated with F&B, I feel that marketing per se has been a stay where I have seen most of these companies struggling, and they don't have a PR company or a PR agency or a company which can give them the so-called social media edge, or the way F&B companies are, innovating every day on cuisine. I would say that chefs are far, far more smarter and well aware and informed, and innovations are being done by them. But what they do, certain restaurants and their restaurant chain companies are not able to kind of market around and educate the customer around. So the market pitch is lacking by far. I feel that if a chef is bringing up the ant by say 80%, then another 20% should be added by the marketing company or the marketing team or the marketing outsourced company, whatever is the arrangement. That is totally missing. And all these young people who are doing things, who are so much aware, we are so much exposed to so many things. You can, attain any information at a press of a button, and you can put your mind around it, apply your mind around it, create a nice marketing pitch, campaign, so on and so forth. That is primarily missing in the entire F&B industry. Hotels are fortunate; they don't need marketing so much, but I feel now they need, because they are
now everyone needs marketing.
Now everybody needs marketing, like sales. Like the hotels have sales department. Why don't they have a marketing department? I know they would have 1-2 people who will just take care of their negative comments on social media. That is not marketing. Marketing is Ravitej is doing something phenomenal. How should I make it be larger than life? How should I project it? This is the best thing ever could have happened to the mankind. So something of that magnitude is completely missing. I see some of the restaurateurs. I would take pride in associating with myself with Riaz, who has a wonderful marketing mind, and his brainchild social is doing what it is because of only one guy, and his innovative thoughts is him. Rest everything is the same. You see, liquor is the same in everywhere you go. A beer is a beer is a beer, and a malt is a malt is a malt. But the point is how you market it. So I think these youngsters should see. And I think it is a very glamorous and a very demanding and a very challenging field. They should look this vertical as something that they can come and fix it for the F&B or the hospitality industry per se. I would rest my case there, because I struggled in Lite Bite. I changed 4 marketing heads, and I couldn't still find anybody suitable. There were juniors who were doing far better than the HODs. And HODs were simply eating on to what juniors were doing, their copywriting, their social skills, and their PR skills, and their whatever. So I would rest my case here that marketing is one field you should look seriously.
So F&B marketing,
a lot of potential. Yes, sir.
F&B marketing is something which is very big.
Hospitality marketing, chef marketing.
Right.
See, there are so many good chefs who are being marketed well by their bosses, have done really well in life. I don't want to name them. You know all of them.
So Dinaz, what do you think? I think this hospitality marketing is a great idea. What about you? What do you think is that one skill set or vertical that should be developed by hospitality professionals and even hospitality schools?
what we've been discussing about hygiene marshals, I think it's very important because this incident has shaken the whole world. It's not just India, it's not just in isolation, it's the whole world shaken, and everybody is now demanding a higher, standard from each person. So you need to have a session which is dedicated to how do you handle or cope with something like this, which gives them the skill set to be able to say, hey, I'm not just a chef, but I know exactly how to ensure that everybody in and around me stay safe. So it's not just what we were doing with our, chopping boards and color coding and all of that. It goes much beyond hassle. It goes into something different, and that's a skill set that would be very, very handy at this point in time.
Right. That's very important. Hygiene, Magandeep, what's your
I think
take on the subject?
The movement that started as a fad, perhaps the vocal for local, has a lot more to it than just momentary alignment.
Slogan.
And for people who get behind it and looking at local manufacturing of all forms of alcohol, be it not just the mainstream gins and whiskeys, but even things like vermouth and bitters, shrubs, making them for local bars and stuff, I think will have a market in the future. Because even someone like me, who I will not disclose how much alcohol I have at home, but let's just say that I'll run out in about a year's time, and that's never happened to me before. So the point being that we are going to buy locally. We will look at ways to get that. Government might align to allow us more access with online buying and online access to these things. So finding first either back-end integration or finding a way of route to market of how to get those things to your consumer at home with the SOPs in place. I think that's a really big space there. So how can you assure someone of sanitary hygiene and then get me a cocktail home in the right condition and stuff that works? I'm talking purely from the alcohol side. This could apply to food, processed foods, many other things. But I think vocal for local is something not just to be ignored right now. I think it's a deep movement, and it's woken us up to many, if people think they can now make butter chicken and this and that at home, they can, or other bartenders realize they can make their shrubs and vermouths and liqueurs and bitters at home, and then they can make it available to others. So I think that's a space I am really looking at. So people, but it's a cost intensive thing. You can't just go open a winery or a distillery just tomorrow. But having said that, the existing ones are suffering. So the micro brands will have to rise. A lot more micro brands will come up. What has to change are the policies. So we can't have a 15 lakh rupee registration for a beer brand in Delhi. That will not allow that. But if that comes down to 1 or 2 lakhs, you will find hundreds of brands coming in. And obviously there'll be a boom, and then some will survive, some will get taken over. But I feel that space is fairly ripe. Work with local brands for hospitality guys, work in the retail side of things, maybe for the time being till they get back to whatever. Yeah, that's where I would be.
That's good. Retail is a very important point. And I think you do a lot of training for people who want to get into retail, don't you, Magandeep?
So the funniest thing we've seen is 2-3 years ago, we were trying to make apps for people because a lot of retailers wanted an app and an iPad in their shop. So people walk in and they can order things on the app. So I'm having chicken with the yellow curry and rice, and 5 people, what wine or what whiskey should I buy? I should list it. We made all the matrix, we put everything in place, but guess what happened? We put the money in the iPads and everything, and the people would walk into the shop, they'd pick up the iPad and say, hi, can someone come and help me with this? So you still needed the people. So hospitality remains a people-intensive industry, and I enjoy that bit. Having said that, today is the first time I'm seeing it change, because now having a menu on a QR code, or people telling me, I'm imagining when dining begins, people will say you can only come with a reservation. You have to pre-order. So when you come in, your wait time is reduced. You've prepaid your food. You come, you sit down, you eat, so that I can have 3 seatings instead of 2 seatings. Is the only way I'll recover my money when my 50-cover restaurant now only has 25. And I'm okay with that. I'm happy to pre-order my food. If I do it in Zomato and for restaurants, why can't I do it in a other place? Extra things you get to pay for over there. I believe so. Retail is going to be big in a way. And already the ticket price has gone up. I was talking to retailers. If average person used to buy a 2,000 rupee bottle of whiskey, they will now explode up to 6,000. That's 3 times over. And there is an increase in that space. Channels are changing. Retail will need more people. Retail as a paradigm will change. Shops will look better. People will invest in it more because it will be an outlet where you're competing a lot more with the others. And if they open up delivery, at least some states have, I don't think the big guys may be the way to go. Amazon, big basket might be great to an extent, but it will be the smaller guys. If they can put up their smaller systems locally, which will, like a local colony or a 2-kilometer radius being served, you will have a lot more traction there. Also because it's more accountable to see who we're delivering within that kilometer. So your sanitary and other hygiene checks can be in place. So, yeah.
Right. So Laurent, one question about say Vatel and what is one problem I have with Indian hospitality institutes is that the wine and spirits education program is generally ignored. It's like it's not really up to scratch. So what are you doing, or what have you done to raise the bar for wine and spirits education?
So first of all, we have because of course the way it works here, we cannot serve alcohol in the university. So obviously it makes it very difficult. Vatel all over the world, and Magandeep knows it better than anybody, has wine classes within the curriculum where the students do taste. So obviously they understand what wine is all about. And we are talking about a country which has a wine culture. In India, of course, the challenge is that people are not coming from that wine culture. People are more whiskey drinkers, and the children that we are getting, the students that we are getting, they have not really been exposed to all that. So it's a challenge, it's a real challenge. And actually we are talking with Magandeep. We have not been able to do yet what we wanted to do. It's been more than a year that he's proposed to help us in a way outsource all the F&B to him and his team, so that the teaching could be done outside the university, maybe in a restaurant or a bar or wherever, he has now a place also, so he can do it in his own thing. I think that's probably what we have to see, because, Sourish, if you don't have the liquor, how do you show people how to make a cocktail? It's impossible. And if the students cannot hold the glass, see the wine and taste the wine, how can he understand?
Right.
I also wanted to say something, Sourish, about these verticals you're talking about. In India, there are so many things that we have not touched yet. There's so many things we can do. This pandemic, we have seen, has clearly indicated to everyone that we are walking on our heads, that we cross the world to go somewhere, to eat something, or to spend 5 days on a beach, when at the end of the day, something is available to you in your own country. I'm not saying not to travel. I'm saying that people should travel more sustainably. I'm saying that in India, we should look into developing sustainable tourism, have more destination in the hills, rather than everybody rushing to Himachal, to Shimla, where it becomes a complete disaster and completely unsustainable. I think we have to push the students to, I have some people that I know in Himachal, I know Himachal because my wife is from there, that would love to stay at home and do something there. And it's difficult for them to develop, but a lot of people have projects that they want to open new things in more remote areas of the country, where people could go and spend some time, rather than go with 1 million, 500,000 people every Sunday in Shimla and queue on the road up. You see what I mean? So that's something I think that this virus has taught us also, that we really have to think about how we're going to see the future of tourism. We need to be more sustainable. We need to think. We also need in the food business to understand, why are we eating some avocado from Chile in India, and we have avocado in Bangalore growing. Of course, they might not come all year long, but they come at a certain period of time. We can consume them then. We have apple, we have cherries right now. It's in season. Do some cherry clafouti. Do something like that is, in season. I think that's something we need to inculcate to our students. Tell them that this is the slow food is the way, that sustainability is the way. The world is going for a toss. Forget about COVID. Forget about COVID. COVID is a boon in the river. The issue is much larger than this. So it gives us an opportunity to think. I think this virus has given us a little bit of a kick in the bottom, and we have to wake up, all of us, and the students need to understand that what is at stake, and we need to show them that path. That's what I wanted to say.
Right. I completely, agree with this point. We need to start thinking innovatively, not only just F&B, but the entire tourism sector has to think innovatively. And sustainable tourism is one way to achieve it. Of course, one can do another webinar on that subject. That's something that's culinary tourism. It's another area which I think is quite neglected in our country. Dr. Garima Prakash, whom I will still call Chef Garima. Do you have any parting thoughts? I have one question for you. Do you think facilities management will develop as something very important in the hospitality sector in this decade?
Yes, I think facility management has a major scope because it inculcates majorly 3 core departments of our hotel industry. So that should be something which should be strengthened. And facility management, not only in hotels, but let it be hospitals or malls or retails. So it is a part of all the service sector. And also what I feel is flexibility is the future. If we have to secure hospitality industry from COVID-19, we have to adapt the offerings that we have to current needs. We have to elevate the basic promises of the hospitality industry because as my dear colleagues have also mentioned, it is a customer-centric industry. So we will have to our basic promises have to be in place. Mm-hmm. And coming to students, as we had mentioned, hospitality students are the most polished students, when we look into various disciplines across. For all the 4 years or the 3 years that they study, they are trained to be humble. And that's why I think so, as Dinaz was also mentioning, they fit so well everywhere else, anywhere, wherever there is a service interaction. So I just feel probably the students need to be more alert. They need to be more technology savvy. They should be keen to adapt. They should be creative and flexible. So in case of these, there are these few minor mindset changes in the students with a positive attitude, and they should be open to new ideas. I think so they will be really successful.
And also, I think hospitality institutes themselves have to change or at least reassess the curriculums.
Yes, definitely. And I think so, quoting Darwin again, I think so throughout all this, it will be the most adaptable people who will survive, So I think so that is what the students need to do. Yes, the class of 2020 can obviously take up these 2 years to upgrade their skills, which is very important. And once the industry is back in boom, they are ready and they are more fitter basically to take those opportunities. And basically for the students who are just joining the industry, they have no fear because we still have 4 years for them, So I think so it's as my esteemed colleagues also mentioned, So I think so the magnitude of the sentiment is more than the magnitude of the problem. Yeah.
So great, we have actually a very, very interesting discussion. There's some nice takeaways. For me, the big takeaway was that, there are areas to now to upskill or reorient oneself, hospitality marketing being one, this facilities management being the other, we're talking about, sustainable tourism, looking at, also this whole question of local, products, what we call getting vocal for local. All these areas are going to be now much talked about, and hopefully they will also reflect in the curriculums of our hospitality institutes. I thank you all for your time and the lovely ideas, very, very useful ideas that you've given. We were on Facebook Live. We'll also be now on YouTube very soon. Pawan Hora is the co-founder of Tiffin Talks. May I invite you again?
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sourish. Thank you so much. A big thank you to all the panelists today who gathered here and spent some time with us. I thought some really interesting insights came out. I'm personally very happy. Sharad, sir, I would like to thank you for talking about the fact that hospitality marketing will be one of the key takeaways. That helps me from both sides. I'm looking for not just for clients in this space, but I'm also looking for good talent. So I hope that I'll probably have a chat with Dr. Garima and see whether I can skim off a few.
This is a very a touchy point for me. So we can have another session for this. So
you don't remember while I was servicing Lite Bite, you and I had a 5-minute chat over a couple of drinks on an evening, but that's a separate time. We'll take it up separately. But thank you, everybody. At Tiffin Talks, we are just trying to, embrace the new normal. I think we have done almost 12 sessions in the last couple of months. And thank you so much, Sourish, Kaveri. We have had some really interesting sessions going on already. And this one was really, really, really good. In fact, I saw some really interesting questions, and I think most of them were answered through this insightful discussion we had. Thank you so much. Like Sourish mentioned, we are there on Facebook. We'll be putting this entire thing on YouTube. Support us there. And it's an initiative by Wishbox Studio, my company, and my very close friends, Ruchin's Occasion Experts. And we'll be coming out with a new session, announcing it very, very soon. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, guys.
I must quickly add,
Sure,
thank you, Reva Singh, who's the editor of Sommelier India.
Oh, lovely.
India's first wine magazine. She has left a lovely message for us. She's thanking all panelists, and of course, she thanks me. She says it has been an exceptionally wide-ranging session. I think Reva has been at the forefront of wine education. Magandeep also has seen her, as I have for all these years. Laurent, of course, must have seen her too. I hope the goodwill of such people remains with us. So thank you all. Thank you once again. Once this YouTube link is ready, we'll definitely share it with all of you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely evening ahead.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.